Close your eyes. Imagine nothing, not darkness. Darkness is something, not space. Space is something. True nothing. No atoms, no energy, no time, no laws of physics, just absence. Now open them. You exist. The universe exists, and nobody knows why. This is the deepest question humans have ever asked. Not, how did the universe begin? But why is there anything at all? Why something instead of nothing? And here's what's strange. Every answer we've found just pushes the question back one step. The Big Bang? Okay, but what caused that? God? Then what created God? The laws of physics? Where did those come from? It's a question that breaks the rules of questions, because every explanation needs something to explain it. But if there was truly nothing, there'd be nothing to start the explanation. Let's start with what philosophers call the default state. Most of us assume nothing would be simpler than something. An empty universe should be easier than a full one, right? But here's where it gets weird. In the 1600s, philosopher Gottfried Leibniz asked, "Why is there something rather than nothing?" He concluded there must be a sufficient reason for everything, and the only sufficient reason for existence itself was God. But that just moves the mystery. If God created everything, what created God? Theologians say God is necessary. God exists by definition, couldn't not exist. But why is that satisfying for God and not for the universe itself? In the 20th century, philosopher Martin Heidegger called this the fundamental question of metaphysics. He said, "We've gotten so used to things existing that we forgot how strange it is that anything exists at all." Think about it. You look at a tree and ask, why is that tree there? Someone planted a seed. Why was the seed there? A tree before it. Why was that tree there? Evolution. Why evolution? Physics. Why physics? And suddenly, you're staring into the void. But then quantum physics showed up and made everything weirder. In quantum mechanics, particles literally pop in and out of existence. Empty space isn't empty. It's seething with virtual particles that appear and disappear constantly. The vacuum has energy. Nothing isn't stable. Physicist Lawrence Krauss argued this is the answer. The universe came from nothing, but quantum nothing, not philosophical nothing. The laws of physics allow universes to tunnel into existence from the quantum vacuum. But philosophers fired back. Quantum fields, vacuum energy, the laws of physics, those are all something. You haven't explained why there are laws of physics at all. You've just described how something can come from a different kind of something. And that's when things get really strange. Some physicists propose the universe created itself, not in time. Time didn't exist yet, but through something called a closed time-like curve. The universe bootstrapped into existence, causing its own cause. It sounds like science fiction. But in general relativity, time is just another dimension. If the universe is shaped right, its beginning could loop back and cause itself. Effect becomes cause. The snake eats its own tail. Philosopher Peter van Inwagen had a different answer. Maybe nothing is impossible. Maybe existence is necessary. Not God, not the universe. Just the brute fact that something must exist. And we happen to be in whatever that something is. But here's the part that'll keep you up at night. What if the question itself is broken? Philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein argued some questions only seem meaningful because of how language works. Why is there something rather than nothing? Assumes nothing is a possibility, but is it? Imagine a universe where nothing existed. No space, no time, no observer, no laws. Can you? Really? Or are you just imagining empty space, which is still something? Maybe nothing is incoherent. Maybe something is the only option. And then there's the multiverse answer. Maybe every possible universe exists. Ours is just one of infinite configurations. The question isn't why something instead of nothing. It's why this something instead of another something. But that still doesn't answer why there's a multiverse instead of nothing. You've just made something even bigger. The question doesn't go away. So where does that leave us? Here's what we know. You exist. I exist. Stars exist. The fact that you're watching this, understanding these words, having thoughts about existence, that's not nothing. That's something. And it's bizarre. Some scientists think we'll solve it. Maybe a future theory of everything will show why the universe had to exist. Why the laws of physics are the only laws possible. Why something is the only option. Here's what we know. You exist. I exist. Stars exist. The fact that you're watching this, understanding these words, having thoughts about existence, that's not nothing, that's something, and it's bizarre. Some scientists think we'll solve it. Maybe a future theory of everything will show why the universe had to exist. Why the laws of physics are the only laws possible. Why something is the only option. Others think it's forever beyond us. Not because we're not smart enough, but because the question asks us to step outside existence to explain existence. Like asking what's north of the North Pole. The question assumes a perspective that can't exist. Philosopher Thomas Nagel said some truths might be permanently hidden from beings like us. Not hidden by distance or complexity, but by the nature of what we are. Things inside the universe trying to understand why there's a universe. But here's what I think is beautiful about it. Every answer we've tried, God, quantum fields, self-creation, necessary existence, multiverse, they're all attempts to make peace with the same staggering fact. We're here, against infinite improbability, against every reason to expect nothing. And maybe the question why something instead of nothing isn't asking for an explanation. Maybe it's asking us to feel the weight of it, to really see how unlikely, how strange, how miraculous it is that anything exists at all. You didn't have to exist. I didn't have to exist. Stars, planets, atoms, none of it had to be here. But it is. We are. And for reasons we may never fully understand, that's astonishing. Some philosophers say nothing would have been simpler. But I don't think nothing is simple. I think nothing is impossible to even conceive. Because every time you try to imagine it, you're still there, imagining. You can't escape being something. And maybe that's the answer. Not that something had to exist, but that we're part of the something asking why. The universe became conscious, started wondering about itself. We're not solving the mystery, we are the mystery. Leibniz asked, why something instead of nothing, in 1697. It's 2026, we still don't know, and honestly, I don't think we ever will. But here's the thing about ultimate questions. They're not puzzles to solve. They're invitations to wonder. And wonder doesn't need an answer. It just needs this, you, here, now. Impossibly real. Maybe the real question isn't why something instead of nothing. Maybe it's what do you do with the something you have? If you want to explore more of the biggest questions we can ask, the ones that make reality itself feel strange, you know where to find me. Thanks for watching, and for existing. Both are pretty cool.